How you guys doing, family? Man. I'm glad to see you guys again. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week, a wonderful day so far, because I know I am. Every day in the law of existence, every day in the health of the tribe feels good. So I thank you guys for vibing with me, because I truly enjoy doing this for you. And as always, man, we got a good topic to speak about today, a topic that is affecting many of our families. Yes, we all know it, the big C. Many of our people are afraid of tackling this issue, but over here, we tackle the issues that many are afraid of because we tackle it head on. So, this cancer thing, it's been shrewd in many misnomers and mysteries. People say it can't be beaten. Well, just like there's a fall, there's always a redemption. So I know that when people say no, I say yes. So we understand that this cancer thing has many details to it. So during the course of this video, we're going to analyze certain things, how it happens, why it happens, why is the treatment for it being held back, and also one more thing, how can we better ourselves to make sure that we don't get it in the first place. So without further ado, you know what we do. We're going to dive into it.
At the simplest level, cancer or cancer cells are cells that have lost the ability to follow the normal control that the body exerts on all cells. In our body, we have billions and billions of cells, and they have different functions. It's a very complicated process under incredibly phenomenal control. And if something goes wrong and that control is lost, and particular cells escape the normal control mechanisms, and they continue to grow, and they may spread, that's what we call cancer.
Those cells together, we would call that a tumor. Specifically, cancer is a malignant tumor, and we call it malignant because not only can it invade into adjacent organs, but unfortunately a cancer can spread to other tissues, and that can be life-threatening.
Cancer can actually occur anywhere in the body because there are cells everywhere in the body. In women, one of the most common cancers, of course, is breast cancer, and in men, prostate cancer. And in both men and women, lung cancer and colon cancer are common cancers.
It's important to understand that the cancer that occurs in one individual is very different than the cancer that occurs in another, just like those individuals are different. So a lung tumor in one person will be very different from a lung tumor in another person.
Once the diagnosis of cancer is made, of course, the next obvious question is, what do you do? There are several things that are really relevant. The stage of the cancer, which is information about where is the cancer. Do you say it's a particular kind of cancer? How much cancer is present? Has it spread? Is it in lymph nodes? Has it spread to other organs of the body?
Cancer treatment actually is very complex. And part of the reason is because cancer is this constellation of over 200 different diseases. They have common characteristics, but they're all very different from each other.
The human body is a complex and wondrous living machine. Like any machine, our bodies are composed of smaller parts that work together. The various tasks that are performed each day, such as breathing, eating and digesting food, and the movement of our blood, are performed by specialized structures known as organs. Examples of organs include the lungs, stomach, heart, and brain. All of these organs and other body parts like our skin and muscles are made of smaller living units called cells. Our lungs are a good example of how many cells work together to perform a specialized task. The cells in our lungs work together to allow us to take in oxygen from the air and get rid of waste products such as carbon dioxide. Our lungs are composed of many millions of cells working together to accomplish this task. Cancer is the result of a long process that begins when one of the cells in an organ or tissue becomes damaged or altered in a way that causes it to break free from the normal controls that allow our cells to work together in harmony. A group of misbehaving cells can cause the same kinds of problems in a body that a defective part would cause in any other type of machine. A normal cell will divide only when it receives a chemical signal telling it to do so. These signals are interpreted in the nucleus, and the cells reproduce their genetic information and divide into two identical daughter cells through a process called mitosis. Cancer cells do not obey this rule and will divide even if they do not receive appropriate signals. In addition to the signals that normal cells receive telling them to divide, they are also told when to stop dividing. This prevents too many cells from being made. In fact, the cell division process is a highly ordered process. This is a critical issue in cancer because cancer cells do not obey or require normal signals for division. This can lead to the formation of a mass of cells that piles up and may form a tumor. Also different from normal cells is the ability of cancer cells to continue dividing indefinitely. An important point about cells is that no matter what their job is in the body, they all have the same general structure. The cells that make up our lungs, heart, or brain are all similar in their overall appearance, even though their jobs are quite different. Just as the organs that they form are made of smaller structures, cells themselves are composed of smaller parts that help them perform their jobs. These smaller structures are called organelles. Of particular importance in cancer is the organelle known as the nucleus. The nucleus can be thought of as the brains of a cell. It contains the information that acts as the blueprint for each and every one of us, just as a manual would contain instructions to assemble a chair. Specifically, this information is contained within the chromosomes that reside in the nucleus. Individual units of information are called genes. At a chemical level, genes are made of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. All of our cells contain the same set of information. It is only how the information is used that makes them different. For example, cells in the lungs use different bits of the blueprint to do their job than the cells in our stomach. In cancer, changes to the DNA cause some of the genes to fail to perform or to do their job in a way that causes problems for the affected individual. In short, all cancers are thought to result from changes to DNA that alter critical genes and change the behavior of the affected cells. If a change occurs to the nucleotide sequence, it is like having the letters of a word changed. An alteration in a gene is called a mutation. How do all these changes occur? There are actually a number of different things that can cause mutations. Examples include chemicals that can be swallowed or inhaled, such as those found in chewing tobacco and cigarette smoke, and radiation from the sun or artificial sources like a tanning bed. Sometimes mutations occur without any known external cause. They just happen. Certain genes make products that lead cells to reproduce. This would be equivalent to the gasoline system in cars. The genes that are responsible for making cells divide are known as proto-oncogenes. Changes in these normal genes lead to the production of oncogenes. The result may be cells that divide in the absence of proper signals. It is the equivalent of a gas pedal that is stuck in the on position, making a car go even when no foot is pushing down. Genes whose products function as the equivalent of cellular brakes also exist. As a group, these genes are known as tumor suppressors. Humans have 2 copies of each gene, one inherited from each parent. If a single copy of a tumor suppressor is damaged, the other copy is usually able to stop the cell from behaving abnormally. This would be like losing either the front or rear brakes of a car. The car may be damaged, but would still be able to stop. But if the second set of brakes is damaged as well, the car would not be able to stop, just as the cell would not be able to stop dividing if both copies of the tumor suppressor genes are damaged.
An introduction to cancer biology. In this presentation, we will discuss selected characteristics common to many cancers. Abnormal signal transduction resulting in uncontrolled cell proliferation. Loss of apoptosis or programmed cell death. Tissue invasion and metastasis, permitting spread of the cancer. And angiogenesis, leading to enhanced blood supply of tumors. Normal cells require signals, usually delivered by ligands, to stimulate their growth and to tell them when to stop growing. These signals, or ligands, can be in the form of growth factors and inhibitors, extracellular matrix components, or cell adhesion molecules. These signals are transmitted into the cell through proteins found on the surface of cells called receptors. Each ligand binds to its own specific receptor. Receptors often consist of three domains: an extracellular ligand binding domain, a transmembrane domain, and an intracellular domain. Binding of a ligand to the extracellular domain activates the receptor tyrosine kinase, which activates other proteins by phosphorylation of, adding a phosphate to, the amino acid tyrosine on a protein inside the cell. When a ligand binds to the receptor, a signal goes to the intracellular domain, activating the associated enzyme and initiating a cascade of signals to the nucleus that tell the cell to grow and divide, or to stop growing. Malignant cells generate many of their own growth signals, which allows them to divide with reduced external growth stimulation. Some cells are able to produce their own growth factors and stimulate their own growth. This is called autocrine stimulation. For example, glioblastomas express platelet-derived growth factor, or PDGF. Sarcomas express tumor growth factor alpha, or TGF-alpha, as well as epidermal growth factor receptor, or EGFR. In normal cells, the production of cell surface receptors is limited by cellular restraints on gene expression and protein translation. In tumor cells, however, mutations in the genes encoding for the receptors disrupts this finely tuned regulation, and too many copies of the gene are produced, a phenomenon called gene amplification. This, in turn, leads to excessive transcription and production of receptors. The end result is a higher than normal number of copies known as overexpression of the receptor on the tumor cell surface. This gives the tumor cell increased potential to be triggered into a growth phase by the binding of ligands to the excess receptors. The more receptors expressed, the more binding sites are available for the ligands. Gross overexpression of growth factor receptors can result in ligand-independent signaling, where receptors are active in the absence of stimulating molecules. Structural changes to a receptor can also lead to ligand-independent activation. For example, truncated versions of the epidermal growth factor receptor, where much of the intracellular domain is missing, are constitutively active.
Now that we understand what this ailment known as cancer is, now we need to further understand who's at risk and what may be the certain risk factors for even getting cancer.
African American women are more likely to die from breast cancer. And what's worse, they're being diagnosed more frequently. So why is this happening? And what can be done about it? We take a closer look.
I felt like the monster was chasing us, and now it's close. I'm thinking to myself, I may be next.
breast cancer has waged a war on Felicia Johnson's family.
My maternal grandmother, my sister, my first cousin.
11 women, spanning 3 generations, have been diagnosed with the disease, including Felicia.
Seems like our list just goes on and on.
And when it really hit close to home, when your generation, it was one thing when you saw your mother and your aunt, but then when your first cousin passed away from breast cancer, what was that moment like for you?
All the girls are in the room, and it's a deep, deep cry. And I realize that they're crying because we lost her, and she was so young. And now it's got us. It's wrapped itself around us like tentacles. What's going to happen with us? It was paralyzing mental fear.
So it wasn't something that you discussed. It wasn't something that even as a family, even though it for generations had impacted your family, you all didn't talk about it?
No one ever said a word. It was like a private secret hidden in our closet.
Why didn't they want to talk about it?
When I was 19 in school, I got a call. That my grandfather had prostate cancer, and they were like, yo, my man won't go to the doctor. Like, can you talk to him?
Reluctance to seek medical treatment is all too often a pattern repeated in African American neighborhoods. This hits at home for me too. This is because my great uncle died in 1999 from prostate cancer, and doctors believe his early death could have been prevented. He refused to go to the doctor for treatment. Prostate cancer is a silent killer in many communities, as my research shows. CDC reports show that African Americans have the highest incidence of prostate cancer and mortality rates associated with this illness.
It happens in about 1 in 6 men in the U.S., and it happens in 1 in 4 African American men.
Dr. Murphy encourages black men to get regular physical checkups and to take PSA and digital rectal exams. And epidemiologist Joseph West offers a way to encourage men to get tested annually.
The key that we taught men is that your health is so important to you that it should be your birthday present to yourself every year.
Experts like Dr. West also believe black men sometimes are reluctant to seek medical care.
The message that we like to get to people is that despite your circumstances of where you live, you can still learn how to manage your disease better.
There's no doubt about it, cancer is scary. Yet being aware of your personal risk factors can assuage some fear and help keep you healthy.
Anyone can develop cancer, and many people do. Some form of this disease is likely to affect 1/3 of American women and 1/2 of American men in their lifetimes. Cancer stems from genetic mutations in the body's DNA. The result is the rapid growth of unhealthy, cancerous cells in the body. If left undiagnosed, or if treatment fails, these cells can migrate or spread to vital organs. The result can be severe illness or even death. Cancer-causing DNA mutations occur for a variety of reasons, some of them uncontrollable. For example, more than 75% of new cases are diagnosed in people who are 55 years of age and older. Heredity plays a role in 10% of cancers, whereby a mutation is passed from one generation to the next. Prostate cancer in men and breast cancer in women are especially likely to be hereditary. Perhaps 15% of cancers stem from viral infection. Notably, the human papillomavirus, or HPV, is a sexually transmitted virus that can result in genital warts or cervical cancer. Another STD, hepatitis B, can lead to the development of liver cancer. In addition, HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, can lead to several potentially deadly cancers, such as Kaposi's sarcoma or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Even better, some cancer risk factors are controllable, like the use of tobacco products. Last year, more than 1/3 of cancer-related deaths were from lung cancer. Another third of cancer-related deaths, such as those from thyroid and colon, may have been preventable by engaging in certain healthy lifestyle choices like regular exercise and excellent nutrition. In addition, the 1 million cases of skin cancer.
We know that cancer has affected many of us, and has affected many of our family members, but we need to further understand why the cures and the certain treatments for cancer have been held back. Who's at risk for losing out if the cures are truly put out there?
The reason that many natural treatments are being suppressed is they're not lucrative. Because the big pharmaceutical companies, I call it big pharma in the book, they run the show. Big pharmaceutical companies are after drug money. It's a business. It's a cancer industry. It's a cancer business. And so when a natural supplement or a natural herbal product comes on the market that has an effective track record with treating cancers in tests, that supplement will be destroyed if it comes out as a cancer treating substance. I mean, number one, you can't even claim to treat cancer unless you're FDA approved. So if that happens, you're gonna be destroyed. But if it comes out as just an herbal supplement, and then people begin to make claims on their own, maybe the patients begin to make claims about it or say, well, you know, this really healed my cancer. Even then, they're not safe, because the FDA is controlled by big pharmaceutical companies. If you look at the board of directors, there was a study that was done in 1999, I believe, and maybe it was 2000, and it looked at the top folks in the FDA and then the board of directors in big pharmaceutical companies. And at that time, they looked at 48 of those top officials, and of those 48, 39 held positions in both. So you have the fox guarding the hen house, right? You have big pharmaceutical companies in the FDA, boards of directors, the chief executive officers, the people that make decisions in those organizations, all the same. So in light of that fact, in light of the fact that those folks that own the stock in the big pharmaceutical companies that are on their boards, and they're also in the FDA, or they're also in positions of power with the FDA, are they going to cut their own foot off by allowing herbal supplements to overtake the drugs that they're making money on? It's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. So supplement, and there are many instances of supplements that have come out, different cancer protocols that have come out, folks that were treating cancer at clinics naturally, and they were destroyed by the FDA. There was a cancer inquiry at the United States Senate Committee in 1953, and this was over 50 years ago. And they concluded, the Senate Committee concluded, that there was an active conspiracy to suppress natural treatments in the United States. And since that time, 3 or 4 different people that held high positions in the FDA have come out and agreed with that after they've left, that there is active suppression of cancer treatments, natural cancer treatments, by the FDA. And the reason is money.
And still nothing's changed, though, even though that's come out 50, 60 years ago.
Nothing's changed, no. It's worse, if anything. It's worse.
So one of the reasons then why we see doctors losing their license, some have even I've heard stories of them being put in jail for practicing exactly what you've mentioned.
That's why.
You were charged in New York City with practicing medicine without a license. You were ultimately charged, indicted, and taken before the New York Supreme Court. And I would advise my viewers who might be questioning your authenticity that you won that case. Now, so the charge was practicing medicine without a license and claiming that you had a remedy to cure AIDS, cancer, and diabetes. So the question is, how did you win that case against what some people say are the toughest prosecutors in the land?
Well, it was 1987.
87, not 79, 87.
The 10th of February.
Okay.
My mother knew they were coming. When I told my mama that I had cured my 13 AIDS patient, she said, they're gonna get you. They're gonna get you.
So let me stop you there. You said I cured my 13 AIDS patients.
Yeah.
So you had 13 patients
yeah.
who had AIDS.
Yeah.
And then you say
you cured
them.
Sure.
Keep talking.
So my mother said, they're going to get you. I said, but Mom, why are they going to get me? Because you must remember that you live in a society that support a certain philosophy and a certain system. You being the color that you are, black, and then you're going against the grain, they're going to get you. So
We've run through many topics today. We're almost through, but we have certain more things to go through. Now, we've discussed what it is, why the treatment for it has been held back, and numerous other things during the time of this video. But now we need to understand how we can better assemble ourselves to make sure that we don't even get it. We need to understand things that we can do to make sure that we can stay away from it.
Here are 3 key important elements in preventing disease and ultimately preventing cancer. Number 1, and most important, eat an anti-inflammatory diet. Growing evidence supports inflammation as the foundation upon which disease occurs in our body. Our nutrition is directly related to inflammation. Avoid the following to prevent inflammation: processed foods, animal fat, cheap vegetable oil, simple or refined carbs such as bread, pasta, rice, sugary foods, and of course, alcohol. Instead, eat a Mediterranean or zone-like diet with lots of fresh vegetables, fruit, lean protein, and healthy fat. Add fish oil to your nutrition to further help reduce inflammation. Number 2, exercise almost every day. Exercise helps both mental and physical health. It does not have to be complicated. Even a 20-minute daily walk can make a big difference, so you have no excuse when it comes to exercise. Number 3, get plenty of sleep. For an adult, at least 6 hours a night is needed to help our bodies rejuvenate. Poor sleep is associated with high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, and other illnesses as well. My advice is not rocket science, yet most of us avoid these simple principles.
Pick up some blackberries. They contain twice the antioxidant content of blueberries. Strawberries, cranberries, and raspberries are cancer fighters too. Step 2. Curry lovers rejoice. Turmeric, the spice that gives the popular Indian dish its yellow hue, inhibits the development of cancer. Ginger runs a close second, followed by cinnamon. Step 3. Eat your broccoli. It contains isothiocyanate, a compound that fights several cancers. While Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and arugula also have ITCs, broccoli is king because it has a particularly potent kind called sulforaphane. Broccoli sprouts have the highest concentration of sulforaphane. Step 4. Munch on watercress and drink green tea. Both increase the amount of cancer-fighting antioxidants in your blood, and watercress protects your DNA from changes that can trigger cancer. Step 5. Enjoy a bunch of asparagus. It contains the B vitamin folate, which may reduce the risk of several cancers. Other good sources of folate are orange juice, lentils, spinach, peanuts, and broccoli. Step 6. Go nuts. As long as they're Brazil nuts. They contain selenium, which fights cancer cells. Go for the unshelled ones, which have more selenium, but limit yourself to 1 large or 2 small freshly shelled nuts per day, as too much selenium is toxic. Macadamia nuts contain almost as much selenium as Brazil nuts.
As always, man, I always like to show appreciation for you guys even coming over here and checking out this video. I like to show appreciation for you guys taking the time out and get the info, because this is what our people need. Our people need to understand that this type of information needs to be out there. So just like I lit your candle, you go light someone else's candle and become a storehouse for the information that was dispersed today. So that being said, thank you guys for coming over here and checking out this information about cancer. Yes, we know that it's the big C in many of our communities. It's the big issue for a lot of our people. But just like we just discussed, there are many avenues and many different ways that we can alleviate this problem. So we should have no fear when tackling it. So thank you guys for coming back over here. Thank you guys for doing so much, and thank you guys for already doing what you're going to do in the future. I truly appreciate it. So that being said, if you guys like the video, please comment, because I truly appreciate you guys commenting, you guys showing your appreciation, you guys showing interest in the work. Please like and please share, and also please subscribe, because when you subscribe, you're subscribing to the nation. So thank you guys for coming back over here, and you guys be safe and be one.